A powerful, angry day. So they're saying here that the Territorial Recruitment Center will soon be disbanded and it'll be like paradise on earth. Let's look at what's happening with the Territorial Recruitment Center. In Odessa, they're showing those Territorial Recruitment Center guys how they operate, notifying the population. And look at the bat in the hands of one of the men serving notices. I guess he needs it to play baseball with the kids, that's what I assume. Well, why else would a guy with a balaclava on his face be holding what appears to be an aluminum bat? Well, to play baseball makes perfect sense. Someone managed to escape from the hands of these valuable specialists. There's another video as well. This one's more intense, with shouting and the mobilized being freed, but there are no bats in anyone's hands here. But here we have these so-called former military men, physically trained. You see, right? This guy has abs, not a six-pack, but one big one. But still, look at it. And this military notice server with his one-pack walks around and takes away people's recording devices. In general, things are really crazy here, of course. And you can watch this video in full right here on my channel. Just point your smartphone or tablet camera at this QR code and you'll go straight to the Telegram channel. Or you can check the video description right here. Below this video, there's a link to my Telegram channel right there. Go ahead and join. There's a lot of content there. So what are we being told about the reforms that will bring prosperity to Ukraine regarding the territorial recruitment centers? They want to redistribute the functions of these territorial recruitment centers. Apparently the bats will be given to someone else and the centers will get something else, maybe pistols, I don't know. But a second stage of a large-scale reform is being prepared. It concerns the mobilization work of the territorial recruitment centers. That's what they secretly call the man-catchers. And in July all of this will already start to change. The second stage of the army reform will affect the territorial recruitment centers and joint staff, and it is said that the plan will involve quick actions, which is the only way to get results. It turns out, can you imagine, the first stage of the reform has already been in effect since June 15, 2026. New service contracts with clear terms and payments are already in place. Honestly, I haven't heard of anyone switching to them, but apparently they do exist. The start of the second stage was planned for early July, but the dates might be pushed back a bit. Prime Minister of Ukraine, Yulia Sviridenko, also talked about this during the government question time. According to her, one of the key directions is the renewal of the military pay system. As for the TCK personnel, there is modernization of the TCK and SP system. And Sviridenko called this stage one of the most difficult because it will affect mobilization and troop staffing. By the way, there is some extremely interesting information here about upcoming changes. Here, a certain Stillerman, who is the head of Firepoint, the very company that makes flying flamingos, is saying that we need to bring back the DVN-STP victory. No, not the DVN-STP borders, but the 1996 constitution, and as it turns out, to expand the president's powers. So, can you believe the president's powers are so limited that Zelensky can't make decisions in his own country? And Stillerman says here that if we bring all this back, then the prime minister and the president will be able to get enough tools for effective governance of the state. It turns out that before this, they didn't have the tools that allow effective governance of the state. And they only started thinking about this in the 7th year of the very same president who, according to Stillerman, cannot effectively govern the state. But here my authority ends. To be honest, commenting on this would only make things worse. But let's get back to the mobilization centers. In short, the functions of these very manhunters are planned to be distributed among different state institutions. This will allow them to abandon the current system, where one agency is responsible for both military registration, mobilization procedures, and collecting money, relatively honestly, from different segments of the population. They also propose to create special hubs where citizens can wait for their military medical exam or for being sent to training centers. Well, it's a very interesting initiative, of course, but they promise that all this will happen and the mobilization and staffing offices will become those very kittens they are supposed to be. In my opinion, it's just wonderful. Barbershop specialists who suddenly popped up again are already commenting on all this, and here's what one of them had to say.
Before that?
Who travels. This character, he's some kind of host of a travel show, as far as I remember. And suddenly, just like some singers and performers, he became a mighty military expert who, of course, fights in studios. telling everyone how bad the people are and that this Narit doesn't want to fight. Can you imagine? Narit just doesn't want to fight, that's it, but he has to. In baby boxes, or pay 5 or 10,000 trevnias or dollars like that.
Or pay $5,000 or $10,000. I hate people like that.
He hates those who pay. That person who doesn't fight, who hasn't spent a single day at the front, hates those who don't want to go and die. Honestly, if people knew that characters like that host all sorts of TV programs, TV shows, sing or do whatever else, well, I think no one would watch them. The way they've all come out now, it's just kudra.
I can say right away, even some acquaintances of mine wanted to find out different options. For me, these are not people.
Well, look, there's a person sitting there, excuse my language, in short pants. It doesn't really look like a military uniform. Maybe it's specialized, maybe he's a highly dangerous special forces guy. I can't judge, I'm not an expert in these things. The rolled up pants show he's definitely fighting, not just sitting around. And he talks about how he hates those who want to go abroad, who don't want to die because they don't have armor like this guy in the cap. The cap is apparently some kind of especially powerful helmet, one that won't let any enemy bullet pierce that smart head. Well, now let's take a good look. The TCCs have gone through the training camp. Let's see what's actually happening in those camps. There are already investigations, both journalistic and from other organizations, about what's happening, for example, in a regiment like Skala, which belongs to, or rather is close to Syrski himself, to this greatest commander of all times and peoples, and he is accountable to no one, although it would seem they probably feed people well. They also train them perfectly. But it turns out that's not the case. It turns out that there is abuse in this largest unit of the AFU. Lawlessness and abuse reign over those who end up there. The commander of the 425th Separate Assault Regiment Skala has been removed from his position, and this regiment itself consists of 13,000 people. And an investigation was released about it, which stated that from the end of 25 to the spring of 26, at least 25 recruits of Skala died from causes not related to combat. The official causes are clear: pneumonia, cardiovascular diseases. I remember they even wrote that someone fell from a tree. Can you imagine that? Climbing a tree in winter for some reason. The relatives of the deceased claimed that many of them had signs of beatings on their bodies, and medical care was delayed. The investigation also mentioned systematic violence against the recruits in the regiment. According to the interviewees, beatings and humiliating punishments were practiced in the unit as a way to maintain discipline. And this is an established practice, not some kind of exception to the rules. The soldiers were forcibly restricted in their movements. The perimeter around the tent camps and dugouts of the training centers was mined. Well, I mean, just imagine this freedom and spirit of Anchorage, so to speak, with these mines around the tents and some buildings. And also, I watched another video where they said that every night there were explosions. Most often it was animals that set off the mines. But one time a young conscript set off a mine, and afterwards he was even humiliated. That's how it's described here. So he survived, but still. Drug addicts and people with mental illnesses were actively recruited for service in the regiment. They weren't given any medical help. Of course, now everyone in the unit denies it. That's not true, it's just propaganda. It was filmed somewhere at Mosfilm. It's all Putin's fault, and there are cats there, some party officials, but of course there are other videos as well. I won't show the most horrible things, I'll just show what people are saying about it.
At the recruits' training center, signs reading mines were posted around the tents. The women remarked that the mobilized men from various training bases resembled skeletons.
The video I was talking about.
That the perimeter around the centers was mined. One of the witnesses said that explosions happened almost every night. Every night. Animals in the forest probably caused the explosions.
Probably. No one really knows what triggered them. Maybe a hedgehog stepped on a mine. I don't think its weight would set it off. These must be pretty. But
one time there was another explosion, then screams. They took everyone out of the tent and lined us up. One person was missing. Soon they brought the recruit on a quad bike, his eye taped shut and his legs covered in shrapnel wounds.
And since he was injured, do you think they took him straight to the medical unit, started treating him right away? Well, of course.
He tried to run away. The head of security, whose call sign is Finn, ordered the wounded deserter to kneel in front of the other recruits, and when he didn't, he hit him and fired his pistol demonstratively nearby in front of everyone.
So, a person who was blown up by a mine was also shot at to show the others not to try anything. That's how they treated everyone.
As the witness said, they were told about this incident so they would understand that there was simply no point in trying to escape. According to the witness, the soldier who was blown up was named Alexander, although he wasn't sure.
Well, and here it's not known, right, who it was. And by the way, I actually got a letter about this. And again, I ask everyone who watches me, if you have any interesting information about Ukraine or about Russia that relates to the channel's topics, maybe about Europe, send it to the email address. It's also listed in the video description. There are a lot of contact details listed there. Send it by email, and I'll read it out, of course, anonymously. So I was told what the person wrote. It's about the terrible events in this training center, Skelja. You probably understand the person writes to me that this is... By the way, thank you very much for the letter. This is not an isolated incident. I am currently working at a training center. I won't specify exactly where, and I can confirm that everything they say about Skelja is true. This happens not just with them, but everywhere. That is, this is only what has been voiced and brought to light, but what remains hidden is what is on the lower side. The lower side of the iceberg, so to speak, the underwater part. Here our men are dying like flies because some commanders consider beatings and various physical abuse to be absolutely normal. Beatings and various physical punishments. And those who try to escape are called traitors and are shot in the legs. There are also many suicides, people who were simply driven to it by this kind of treatment. They are just recorded as AWOL, that is unauthorized departure from the unit, desertion. They even bury them at the training center. Can you believe there's a cemetery in Skelja? Here too, the caller says there are such cemeteries, and they started bringing bodies to him from who knows where. Although, well, it's not really a mystery. Everyone can guess where they're from. They bring them by the hundreds and also bury them on the grounds. Sometimes they even make the recruits dig these graves. So what kind of motivation could someone who digs graves have? Well, we can imagine that too. Is this it? This person writes to me what I saw with my own eyes. I think there's even more horror to come here. And then he goes on to write that he was mobilized, forcibly conscripted, just like everyone else. And then due to a shortage of personnel, they gave him a choice. Either work here or go to the front line, which is basically considered certain death, so the man decided to stay and work there. So that's how things are. And this terrible situation continues to be investigated, but of course the investigator is being obstructed as well. They're being threatened, because no one wants the truth to come out. Nevertheless, it's become so outrageous that people have started talking about it everywhere. But I want to emphasize that, again, this is just one case that became known. How many more are there across the country? There are probably dozens. We can only guess here. So what? And look, we're moving on to a new topic now. The president is about to be given new powers, as if he didn't have enough already. These kinds of problems exist at Skolkovo, and in other centers too. Well, you can describe this with the word SWI, SWI, but these SWI are also added, compounded by the restrictions in Ukraine's energy system. It turns out that the abnormal heat which suddenly came in the summer is depleting the energy system. Ukrainians have been warned about possible power outages. This article is old, so I'll read up on the reasons. Now, power is already being cut in several regions. This isn't fantasy. It's a real fact. So, they tell us that in Kyiv, every additional 3 degrees adds about 100 megawatts of load to the system. And it's not just about household air conditioners. Large air conditioning systems in offices, stores, shopping centers, and businesses create a very big, significant additional load. The problem also tests the equipment, which has operated under wartime conditions for over 40 years and survived many attacks. We're talking about the energy infrastructure, which has really been through a lot. Part of the infrastructure is under repair. Some of it is literally working to the point of exhaustion at the limit of its capabilities. That's why in the coming days, the energy system will be operating in a very strained mode. And the energy sector representative hopes that it will be possible to get through this period without significant restrictions. But we need to be prepared for different scenarios. These scenarios have already happened. Life is already going back to blackout schedules. In some regions, the power will be cut off. Electricity. Starting Tuesday, June 30th, which is tomorrow at the time of recording this video, there will be power outages. In some regions, blackout schedules are being introduced. Zaporizhzhia. From 4 p.m. to 10 a.m., there will be hourly outage schedules for one group at a time. Mykolaiv is the same. Kropivnitsky, there are several outage groups here. Cherkasy, Khmelnytsky, Ivano-Frankivsk, and they tell us that the problem is the extreme heat. Let me remind you that he used to be involved in protecting the energy infrastructure. That very same Nayem who in fact became the author of the so-called Revolution of Dignity when he called the students. He protected the infrastructure so skillfully that there isn't a single thermal power plant left in Ukraine that hasn't been hit. At the same time, he talked about how skillfully they spend money on protection. As far as I remember, there are 3 or 4 levels of protection with chain link fencing. Yes, there are supposedly some serious things there, but something went wrong and for some reason none of it was protected. First and foremost, people suffered. On the other hand, Yama bought a Mercedes years ago for $170,000 because he apparently couldn't find a cheaper one. Well, basically, a good person should drive a good car, not a cheap one. And of course, they're heroes. That's just the kind of heroes they are. Social mobility moves everyone forward. Not us, of course, but the ones who need it. Well, let's take a look at all these heroes now, the ones who are eager to perform. Let's see who we have here. Let's start by playing them. For example, Kurbanita hasn't been here for a while.
Hello, what should I do? Because something isn't going quite in the right direction.
It's so fair that you just have to show it, literally every time. So here we have a general specialist, Minoshnichenko, who moved to the US back in 2022, and from there, he heroically broadcasts about what Ukrainians should do to restore the borders of '91. Everyone should go serve, but obviously not him, and while he's in the US, he keeps talking endlessly, and about the border, using the pronoun we. We are in the US, and we are in Ukraine. Apparently, it's the same thing. Well, that's why it's like this. Now, he's saying that in place of Lenin, they put up a bust or a monument. It's something else, to Mazepa. And that's right, but that's not all. Mazepa should also have a street named after him.
Such a big problem. The thing is, I think the bust of Ivan Mazepa, this action...
Such a bust, yes.
A letter really isn't enough.
Look at how much trust this person inspires, sitting in his car in the US and rambling about Mazepa on a street in Kyiv. Honestly, I don't really understand the point of showing this character, again from the US. But he lives there, he's already, if not a citizen, then definitely has a residence permit. He's not Ukrainian anymore, for God's sake.
At the very least, extend Ivan Mazepa Street from Arsenal na metro station to the Petrosklavra. Ivan Mazepa Street.
Yes, we just need Mazepa Avenue to reach Sakhalin and everything will be great.
The capital was truncated. For Moscow priests, Ivan Mazepa is like a red rag. You know, Ivan Mazepa Street is called Laverska Street. It's absolutely neutral and absolutely undeserved. Kyiv City Council should have restored the street long ago.
Well, in general, I respect VNJ. It's important to step up there. It's very important. It's extremely important when a person is counting something there, considers something. But let's listen to Kostenko as well. Kostenko is a hero, you know, the Terminator or Transformer who is now a member of some kind of security committee or something like that. He's being interviewed by Yanina Sokolova, who is an actress, or rather used to be, well, and now probably she still has some connections with the film industry in Russia. And I'm not confusing her with Sokolovskaya. See for yourself by looking up the combination of Yanina and Sokolova, how they all acted there. And check out her list of TV series. Only 2, but still. And now she's a powerful fighter who films either in some bar or in some basement with candles and interviews highly respected people. What?
It's interesting. There really are some really brazen people who are busy doing some kind of buzzification there. And there are some personal stories, like a wounded person met some daring individual who hadn't updated their data, and that for him still.
He means that there are very few people among the TTQ workers who actually beat people. There are just a few brazen ones, but you can count them on one hand. The majority are heroes of our time. They walk the line strictly and salute passing citizens of Ukraine. Nervously, you know, they're all veterans of the armed forces of Ukraine, and they react extremely nervously if a citizen doesn't want to join the army. That's what Kostenko wants to say. It's just a stream of eloquence that looks more like a pile of something. I'll structure it for you so it's clearer what he's talking about.
Everything is being recorded, things are chaotic, and nerves are strained. Everyone is different, so each situation needs its own approach. But we only see the video, we see the finale.
Well, yes, the finale. 8 people attacking one, beating him up, or some dazed guy running around. We need to figure this out. Obviously, most likely the one being beaten by 8 people is at fault. He's always at fault. Narit is always at fault. Apparently he walked by disrespectfully or looked at someone the wrong way. Or maybe he didn't kneel before the draft office guys. Or he didn't give them any money. Well, the poor draft office guys are suffering emotionally because their nerves are on edge. You see, when your new house is being built with the money of those you're hauling off in vans, and there's not enough for some Italian marble, you have the money, but your nerves are on edge. You can't take it. It's really hard. Take Kostenko's word for it. And sometimes, people get killed. Well, what can you do? That's just one of their side effects. You listen to these characters and you wonder, who are you counting on with all this? Who? Who among normal people is going to listen to this? Not those barbershop guys in caps and short pants? But from normal people, just regular citizens of Ukraine who are watching and can't believe what's happening. What about them? Do you hope that someone who didn't believe you before will believe you now? I think no one believes you anymore. Well, there's another character, that's Valkyrie from Valhalla. She always walks around with keratin straightened hair and tells everyone how great it is on Frink. Now she's talking about the Belarusian army, whose condition is unclear. The character on the left even had his eye twitch like this, I think, when he saw her.
So Lukashenko can say whatever he wants. His army is about 60, maybe 65,000 people. The army, well, it's hard to say what state it's in at all. That's right. The population there is small, around 1 million, if I'm not mistaken. I'm actually very sorry that back in 2020, Lukashenko was the most popular foreign politician among Ukrainians. Our option is to strike back, to demonstrate strength, because the world respects the strong.
We need to strike at countries, basically hit our own so that others are afraid. I see. Well, Rushuk, I'm saying that you're such a powerful fighter that nothing can be done without you. Well, overall, that's how things are for us. So, look, there are 3 points here. The first is that they're either planning to remove the TTSK guys or make them even more powerful. The second is that there's an investigation going on about that skeleton Skili. Let's hope it actually goes somewhere. I'm not very hopeful, but maybe they'll at least do something, which will make things easier for the newly arrived conscripted citizens. And the third is the power outages in Ukraine. So, once again, summer has come unexpectedly for politicians and utility workers. Suddenly it's hot in the summer. Can you imagine? It's hot in the summer. In summer, it's not 15 degrees Celsius in Ukraine, but plus 35 or even plus 40. Suddenly it's hot in summer, just as it suddenly snows in winter. They're unprepared. What are you doing again? Apparently Naret is to blame. Maybe he's overheating frying pans or using air conditioners. Basically, Naret is blamed for everything. So that's how it is. Write what you think about this. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Bye, everyone.